What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Wayne's Perspective, where we operate in discipline, decency, integrity, and respect. And I'm coming through with another video just for you. Before I get started, I hope everyone is doing okay out there, taking every day one day at a time, living life the best way you know how. As for me, y'all know how I do. I'm doing pretty good over here, can't complain too much. I'm also taking every day one day at a time, living life the best way I know how as well. Things in my personal life are going pretty good. Things at work are going pretty good. And academically, things are going pretty good as well. So, like I said, I don't have much to complain about these days. I'm just always happy to see another day. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and get into today's video, which is going to be another 30-year retrospective. In this case, I'm going to be talking about the third album from Das EFX, Dre's and Scoob, The Books in Reverse, Hold It Down, which was released 30 years ago today, September 26, 1995. And before I get into the album, I do have a small story I want to share, and I know what you're thinking. Of course, you got a small story, Wayne. Go ahead and share it. Now, initially, I was going to save this story for when I eventually did a post on their 1992 debut album. But since this is my first Das EFX post on my page, I'm going to share this story now. Like most of you listening to this, I first heard Das EFX in 1992, and I'm pretty sure it was Day One Effects. And then after that, I heard Mike Checker. And I had the Dead Series cassette back in the day, too. So, of course, I fell in love with the songs. The album is still a classic. It still holds up today, and you can't do nothing but go crazy even when you hear Day One Effects and Mike Checker, the original and the remix today. Also around this time, me and my mom, we was living in an apartment complex. And there was one point when there was a whole lot of commotion going around because somebody was saying, hey yo, Das EFX is here, Das EFX is here. Now let me back up a little bit with that. As I'm going to touch on in this Hold It Down review, they did attend Virginia State University, I want to say back in the late 80s, I think 1988, 1989 or something like that, but things didn't go quite like they expected. So they do have some ties to Petersburg, Virginia, and that is my hometown for those of you who might have forgotten. And going back to the apartment thing, I can't recall which year it was. It might have been 1992, it might have been 1993. So I had to have been either 8 or 9 years old at the time. We was outside playing, or should I say I was outside playing with some cats at the time, and out of nowhere somebody just came in. Yo, Das EFX is here. Das EFX is here. Now, even me being a little boy at the time, I didn't believe it because why would Das EFX be in a random apartment complex? Just why? So me and a group of other kids, we went to the back of the complex like where some of the other apartments were. And we did see these two guys who had the long dreads that Scoob and Dre's had at the time, but I don't think it was them. I really don't. It was probably two guys who probably thought they were Das EFX, for the lack of a better way to explain it, or just two random guys who either lived in the neighborhood or was coming to visit. But with hindsight being 2020, I don't think Das EFX was in this apartment complex just out of nowhere. I don't think that was the case at all. To this day, I still remember that, and I remember how crazy people went when they thought Scoob and Dre's was there, but it was clear that it wasn't them. So I just wanted to share that little story, and to this day, I'm probably still the only person that remember that. Quite frankly, I don't even think I told my mama about that, but I digress. Moving on, like I said, Dead Series came out in 1992. They blew up, they became stars, and at this point, Dead Series came out. Then you had EPMD's Business Never Personal album out. Redman dropped his debut album, What the Album, in 1992. So that was a big year for Erick Sermon and Parrish Smith putting other people on. Then we move on to the next year, which was 1993. Straight Up Suicide came out. I'm not going to go into this too much because I do want to do a separate video on that album too. It's always been a personal favorite of mine. Freak It, classic. Back in Effect, classic. Give Me That Microphone, Underground Rapper, you name it. Great album. And personally, I think it's better than Dead Series. But like I said, I'm not going to go too much into that album because I do want to do a separate video on that as well as a separate video on Dead Series. Then we skipped 1994 and then we head right into 1995 with Hold It Down. And that becomes a good segue into this album. So let's go ahead and get into it. After a 1 minute and 8 second intro, which was a dope one, we head right into No Diggity, which was produced by DJ Premier. Body Snatcher, Hit It, Throw the Pitch Again, Gotta Switch Again because we back up in this bitch again. Word to Dre's on that one. And yeah, No Diggity, this did come out a year before Blackstreet, Dr. Dre, and Queen Pen turned it into a hit in 1996 with a similar title. And now when I think about it, Das EFX had No Diggity, whereas Blackstreet, Dre, and Queen Pen had No Diggity, and they spelled it Diggety, if I'm not mistaken. So kind of an interesting little fact there. But like I said, this was produced by DJ Premier. It was a dope opener, and much like Mike Checker, an underground rapper from Dead Serious and Straight Up Suicide, respectively, this was a great way to start the album. 5 out of 5 for this one. Next up, we got Knocking Ninjas Off, which was produced by Easy Mo Bee. Let me talk about Easy Mo Bee right quick. I might end up putting this brother in my top 10 favorite producers of all time. I have my top 5, but I haven't created my top 6 through 10 yet. I might put that guy in that list. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and say it now. He might end up making number 6 or number 7. He got a Battle Alchemist right there. But continuing on, Easy Mo Bee has got to be one of the most underrated producers in hip-hop history. This man has produced some classics and is one of the rare producers who worked with Tupac and Biggie when they were still alive. Just think about that. But like I said, man, mad props to Easy Mo Bee. So getting back to the song here, Knocking Ninjas Off, it wasn't unheard of for Dre's and Scoop to be aggressive on the mic, and that's exactly what we get on this song. 4 out of 5 for this one. Next up, we have Here We Go, produced by Solid Scheme, who frequently worked with Das EFX behind the boards, and they usually came through with some good stuff for these cats, and that's certainly the case with this one. That's how it is, and yo, that's how it go. No question about that. 4 out of 5 for this song. Next up, we have the original version of Real Hip Hop, which was produced by DJ Premier, and looking back on this, Das EFX did have some nice chemistry going on with DJ Premier, and it was evident on this banger right here. Real hip hop, it usually consists of dope beats and rhymes with no gimmicks, and Das EFX, they succeeded here, and it was 5 out of 5 for this song. Next song we have Here It Is, produced by Kevin Jeter. Here it is, do it like this. Coming from the sewer, yo, you know we never miss. This joint was almost in the same vein and tone as Here We Go, and it's just as dope. Another 4 out of 5 song. The dopeness continues here with the next song, Microphone Master, another classic produced by Easy Mo Bee. This has always been one of my favorite songs from Das EFX, and it's probably one of their more underappreciated songs too. They really ride Mo Bee's tracks so nicely and in a nice touch. I always liked how the beat starts without the bass, and once the song begins, the bass eases right on in. They come off as the microphone masters, super rhyme makers, yes indeed, and they also had an equally dope remix with Mobb Deep as well. I kind of wish that was on the album too, but either way, 5 out of 5 for this classic. I love it. Next song, we got 40 in the Blunt. This was also produced by Easy Mo Bee, and I gotta give a shout out to Grand Puba and that well-timed sample courtesy of that brand Nubian classic single, Slow Down, a 40 in the Blunt. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Add in the Timbs and the dreads, and you had one of the signature styles of the black man in the mid-90s. 4 out of 5 for this song. Next up, we got Buck Buck. This was produced by Das EFX themselves. One thing I always liked about this one, and at this point in hip-hop, we talking about 1995. As y'all know, my favorite year in hip-hop history. The art of freestyling meant something back then, and it's sad that as an art form, it's essentially dead as we speak. And Dre's and Scoob, they came through with the heat over a classic break beat, and DJ Dice came through with the scratching. 4 out of 5 for this joint. Moving on to the second half of the album, we start with Can't Have Nothing, produced by Gerald, Soul G Stevens, and this is where we get more of an introspective side of Das EFX. They talk about a familiar thing when it came to black men, people saying you will never amount to anything and essentially having to prove the doubters wrong in your own ways. And that's what Das EFX did on their way to the top. And this is also a song where they talked about their experiences at Virginia State University, albeit briefly. And they also talked about how they hooked up and, of course, how they landed a deal with EPMD after performing at a talent show. I always like this song. It's very good. 5 out of 5 for this one. Next up, we have another Easy Mo beat produced track. This one is called All Right. Scoob and Dre's, they catch wreck over this dope beat with a nicely worked Sly Johnson sample thanks to Different Strokes. 4 out of 5 for this one. Then we go into another Easy Mo beat produced track. This one in the form of the title track, Hold It Down. A dope, appropriately titled track. It's all about holding it down and keeping things on lock. That's what you got to do. 5 out of 5 for this song. Next up, we have Dedicated, produced by Clark Kent. The ladies and fellows who get high, act fly, the ladies who do the same, and run game, they get the dedication from Das EFX on this one. And I've always been back and forth as to whether I was going to go with 5 out of 5 for this song. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do that because, I mean, it's just dope. I do like this song a lot. We move on to the next song. This is Ready to Rock Rough Rhymes featuring Sea Dog. This was another one produced by Solid Scheme, and I think this was basically a showcase for Sea Dog. And I don't think they were ever heard from again after this. They did okay for the most part, but when Scoob and Dre's came in for their closing verses, they just killed this joint. I mean, I give it a 3 out of 5. It's not a bad song, it's not a dope song, but it's right there in between. And after all that heat we got prior to this, this was more or less a cool down moment in the album. But let's keep it going. Next up, we have Represent the Real featuring KRS-One. This was produced by Showbiz from Showbiz and AG. Only a few will understand and appreciate what's about to happen. No question about that. You had Das EFX, you had KRS-One, who was also hot in 1995. He had dropped this self-titled album that same year, and that's coming up on the 30-year anniversary as well. You had Showbiz behind the boards. How could this not be dope? 4 artists who represented the real hip hop at the time and still do. 4 out of 5 for this one. Next up, we got Coming Through with My Crew Like This, produced by DJ Scratch. The dopeness continued as Scoob and Dre's came through to catch more wreck. 5 out of 5 for this one. Next up, we got Hardcore Rap Act, produced by Solid Scheme. Hardcore was definitely one of the ways to be back in the 90s, and Das EFX personified that since Dead Serious. 4 out of 5 for this song. Next up, we get another one that was produced by DJ Scratch. This was featuring PMD, and it was called Bad News. Kind of a fast-paced song, and PMD seemed motivated, but then again, he was beside Das EFX. How could you not be motivated? And he would come out with his sophomore album, Business is Business, in 1996. But for the most part, this song was a 3 out of 5 rated song. And to close the album, we get the Pete Rock remix of Real Hip Hop. In an era where the cassette would get the bonus track and not the CD, it was a smart move to include this remix because Bad News, even though the song wasn't bad, that would have been an incredibly anticlimactic closing to an otherwise dope-ass album. The remix is cool, but as far as comparing it to the original is way better. This Pete Rock remix, it gets 4 out of 5. My overall thoughts on this album is that the third time around, Das EFX, they came through with an awesome album, bringing their usual dope rhymes of an equally dope production. And like I always said before, 1995 was a stacked year, and when this came out, it did slip under the radar, and it was slept on at the time. And it only received a mere fraction of the attention that Dead Serious and even Straight Up Suicide did. I want to get this album 5 mics, but when I look objectively at those ratings, I think it's going to come in at a respectable 4.5 mic rating. Overall, it is a dope album from start to finish, and it probably is my favorite Das EFX album. Do I think it's better than Dead Serious and Straight Up Suicide? I think so, but this is probably a case where I'm going to have to listen to all 3 of those albums back to back and then make my determination from there. But more than likely, I'm probably going to pick Hold It Down. And if you thought this was over, no, it's not. I do have a album review from Rap Pages magazine. This had to have been in the latter part of 1995. I can't recall off the top of my head which issue this was in, but I got this offline, so I'm going to go ahead and read it verbatim. This was done by a cat named Red. So this is what he said. You figured that the Das EFX style was played out because so many MCs tried to bite it, right? You thought Das fell off because the production on the last album was not as tight as it was on the first, right? I disagree with that because the production on Straight Up Suicide was better than the production on Dead Serious. Let's continue on. Well, the Diggity Duo is back from the sewer armed and ready for the difficult third go around. This time, Crazy Dre's and Books are backed by a new solid team of producers: Easy Mo B, Premier, Clark Kent, DJ Scratch, Showbiz, Pete Rock, and others who lend their skills to rejuvenate the Iggity rhyme flow with mad ill beats. Hold It Down contains the infamous full-blooded DOS lyrics over funky groove-laden tracks, 5 of them produced by Easy Mo B, known for his production with Craig Mack and the Notorious B.I.G., and they know that one of the highlights here is Knocking Ninjas Off, which included Butter lyrics and everything that came along with that. The Blastmaster himself, KRS-One, sets it off on Represent the Real, which is produced by Showbiz. Enough said. The first release, Real Hip Hop, produced by Premier, packs strong beats that command you to nod your head. Pete Rock flavorfully remixed this joint with the version that can only be found on the single. And like I said, they did add it as a bonus track on this album. The cassette at the time, not the CD, and I still don't know why they did that. The Butter No Diggity had been circulating on the underground, and heads who caught wind of the catchy hook adopted No Diggity as the new catchphrase for No Doubt on the East Coast. DOS Effects are taking no shorts this time with creative rhymes, entertaining and street-oriented at the same time, and covering every production angle imaginable without coming off scattered. Originality, flavor, versatility, head bobbing, and rump shaking, it's all in there, so choose your groove and get your swerve on. All right, good review by Red, and he gave it a 7 out of 10 rating, which is probably akin to a 3.5 mic rating in the source. But like I said, my rating is 4 mics and a half. And on that note, we've come to the end of this 30-year retrospective. Shout out to Scoob, shout out to Dre's, and shout out to everybody who had a part in this album. And again, it was slept on when it came out in 1995, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to give it its flowers right now. I've always given it its flowers. It's right up there with Dead Serious. It's right up there with Straight Up Suicide. And like I said, I would not be surprised if a short time after this, I'm going to listen to all 3 of these albums back to back and see which one is my favorite DOS Effects album. But I can tell you right now, more than likely, I am going to pick Hold It Down. But again, shout out to these brothers. I thank them for this album. If you haven't bumped it in a long time, go ahead and throw it in. It still holds up today, and it's aged like fine wine, just like the first 2 albums. And so with all that being said, if you like what you heard and you're ready to become part of Team Discipline, go ahead and hit that like button and drop some comments if you're feeling the content. Definitely let me know your memories of DOS Effects. Let me know your thoughts on this album as well. And last but not least, hit that subscribe button along with the bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. And until next time, my people, take care of yourselves and remember, the power of the mind is valuable. I'll see you on the next one.